team, but you aren't even close to being satisfied. In June, you had a really strong finish here at Pocono. How do you plan to kind of, take that next step this weekend, get out of, the season rut that you've been?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every weekend I show up and still it took me a long time to develop the confidence that I was a cup-winning driver, and that confidence hasn't wavered. So I show up each week thinking that we have the capability to pull it off and still get a victory lane. As you work through the weekend, you kind of reevaluate where you're at and what your goals need to be. But sitting here now before we've turned a lap, I'm here to win this race.
So a realistic expectation that you're having is to win this race. Is that what you're saying?
It's we just talked about it a second. I think top 5 is probably, in the realistic standpoint, stage points. But you never know. That's that optimism that that I refuse to lose. I still know I can win these races. That hasn't changed a bit. That hasn't gone anywhere. We just need to get the whole package together. And this whole journey I've been on just shows me how important timing is for any team, driver, crew chief, owner, whatever it might be. I was very fortunate to have timing for a large stretch of time, manufacturer, team, crew chief, driver, all hitting, at 10/10ths. And we individualize the sport very, very often, and it is way more than just one person that makes this whole thing go. So I'm patiently waiting and hoping that we get the timing back and get all the pieces pushed in the right direction, and we can get back to our form that we once had.
All right, we got time for one more quick one up here up front with Zach.
Zach Tan's ready, kickingthetires.net. Your family trips have been pretty elaborate this year. You've been having a lot of fun with the kids. For Genevieve, have her expectations been getting larger for what makes her excited, or as a kid, is she still having fun with pretty much anything?
No, my kids just love to be outside. This year we started traveling a little bit more during our off week and went to Switzerland. We love traveling the world, experiencing different culture. My wife and I do, and we took the family when Lydia was just under maybe a year old, and we learned a lesson. That was just too early. I mean, it was tough to travel that far, and it's been on the brakes until now. And we enjoyed our trip abroad. But the summer for us is really about letting our kids be kids and getting them outside. Charlotte's a wonderful place to raise children, but Colorado, you don't have to worry about them, and they can do so many different things. And from riding dirt bikes to canoe trips, floating the river on paddle boards, camping out in the middle of nowhere. There's this hut we like to go check out. It's at 11,200 feet, no electricity. There's a bathroom, but it's really just a hole in the ground. So to go out and really just let kids be kids and hang and have that family time is it's tough to do when they're in school, and summer is just a great opportunity to spend time together.
All right. Thank you, Jimmie.
Thank you.
All right. We are now joined by Aric Almirola, driver of the number 10 Smithfield Ford for Stewart Haas Racing. Aric's coming into the weekend with some momentum, coming off an 8th and a 3rd place finish the last 2 weeks, led a lot of laps in New Hampshire. So with that, we'll open things up to the floor here. Start with Dustin up front.
Dustin Albino, front stretch. Aric, obviously a lot of close calls this year, but the defeat last week, how does that compare to Daytona and Chicago?
They're all a little bit different. Daytona leading on the last lap, biggest race of the year. Chicago led a lot early, definitely had a dominant car, and, then two loose wheels and kind of set up the beginning of defeat rather early in the race, where Loudon was like, all right, we've got a car capable of winning. It's towards the end of the race. We had just passed Harvick with 40 laps to go and was kind of setting sail. And so it was like there, they're all a little bit different, but all very capable of leaving those racetracks with trophies. And so they all equally hurt. You know, when you think about opportunities and rising to the occasion and going to victory lane, those three were definitely opportunities for us to get our 10 Smithfield Ford Fusion to victory lane.
I'm going to go to Zach next.
Zach Sterniolo, Pocono record. I know, obviously, this year has been such a resurgent year for you. I think performance-wise, you're best consistently
Yep.
so far. What has that done for your confidence in yourself as a driver?
Well, it's given me a tremendous amount of confidence. You know, just believing in myself, and I've talked a lot, you know, this year and especially the last couple weeks, just about, you know, the last 6 years. I've always been unsure. You know, rather is it the equipment, is it my team, is it me? You know, do I just not stack up? Am I holding the team back? You just always question. I think it's very natural, just as a human being, to question everything, but particularly yourself. And so, having this opportunity, driving, you know, the best equipment in the garage at Stewart Haas Racing, and me being able to rise to the challenge and go out there and run up front and lead laps and be competitive, it gives me a lot of confidence in myself and in my ability to know that, given the right circumstances and the right opportunity, that I can go and compete with the best.
Here at Pocono, I know this hasn't been your best track by any means, but last month, qualified 34th, ended up with a 7th place finish. What are your expectations here coming into this weekend? Is this a top 5 weekend for you, do you think?
I think so. First and foremost, we're going to qualify better than 34th. We had a tire issue in qualifying that set us back, and we kind of spent the entire race kind of clawing our way back to the front. So I feel like we'll get off to a better start this weekend, and you know we know we've got speed in the cars, so I feel good about it. You know, I've never said that before. In whatever 12, 14 trips to Pocono, I've never said I feel good about coming into the weekend at Pocono, but this weekend I do. I'm excited about the weekend, and I'm actually looking forward to racing here at Pocono. I think we'll have a good enough car to go and run up front.
All right, we'll go to Jerry and then Kelly.
And Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires.net and PRN. I want to fast forward 1 week to Watkins Glen, and you can't compare what you've been there with in the past versus what you've got this year. But how do you feel about going into the road course race, plus knowing that you're going to have a road course race in the playoffs? Is this a lot of importance to you, plus this some momentum you have going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, road course racing has been arguably my Achilles heel throughout my career, and I don't claim to be very good at road course racing at all. And you know, I've always worked really hard at it to try and be better. Because as a race car driver, you want to be versatile. You want to be able, to contend for wins on super speedways, intermediate tracks, short tracks, challenging tracks, and road course tracks. So you don't want to be weak in any one area. And so for me, that's been a big challenge to, if you will, conquer road course racing. And I've put a lot of effort into this year and into being a better road course racer, and had a lot of help with that. But with Ford, they've helped me a lot with a lot of time in the simulator. With our race team at Stewart Haas Racing, just with a lot of data to look at and a lot of things to study. And then on top of that, running the K&N race out in Sonoma before the Cup race, I feel like that helped me a lot getting ready for Sunday. And I got my first ever top 10 on a road course out at Sonoma, and had a really good run, was really fast. Same thing going into Watkins Glen. I've worked really hard studying data, getting ready in the Ford simulator, and then we're fortunate enough to have Stewart Haas Racing and go bowling for that weekend. It's the go bowling weekend at the Glen, so we're gonna have a go bowling car on the racetrack on Saturday in the Xfinity race, which I feel like is gonna help get me in a rhythm for Sunday, and hopefully that will pay off and help Sunday at Watkins Glen. But road course racing is definitely not something that I'm overly comfortable with, and something that I claim to be good at by any means. But through hard work, I'm trying to get a lot better at it, and I feel like I have.
And we'll go to Kelly next.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Aric, this may sound odd, but you just mentioned how this year is helping you gain the confidence to run up front and contend with the best of them. In a way, are you kind of learning how to win? After the last couple of years of where your career was and the expectations were certainly different. In running up front, are like I say, it may sound odd, but are you kind of learning to win?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I talked a lot going into the season at Daytona, at Media Day, and then throughout the beginning of the year. I talked a lot about how I felt like a rookie again. I kind of approached this year trying to erase everything from my memory bank and start with a clean slate and a fresh sheet of paper, and a lot of it with the poking and prodding of Johnny, my crew chief, just like, hey, let's start clean. Let's learn together. Let's grow together, and let's start. Let's build our foundation together. And I've really approached this year that way. And yes, I have had to relearn, different techniques and different things that I'm doing in the car. I've learned how to race completely different. It really is a different atmosphere when you're running inside the top 10 and top 5. The way you race and the way you go about your strategy and things like that. For the last 6 years, you race tooth and nail for the lucky dog every weekend. And your strategy revolves around taking wave rounds and trying to figure out how to get back on the lead lap at the end of the race, and how to be creative with your strategy to put yourself in position to get back on the lead lap. It's completely different, and that's one thing that I have really appreciated is going through that process with my team and with Johnny Klossmeyer and my engineers together, from the beginning of the season, basically starting at ground zero and building that foundation of learning not only the cars, but how to race and how to challenge for wins. And it really is an art. You look at Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex and all those guys, Jimmie Johnson. You look at those guys that have run up front and win on a consistent basis, and there really is an art to winning. They know what they need. They know when to push, when not to push. They know when to be aggressive. They know when to make the aggressive pit call or to follow suit with kind of everybody else's strategy. There's a lot that plays into it besides just having a fast race car. And I feel like we've done that part. I feel like we've showed up with fast race cars, especially the last 6 to 8 weeks. We've showed up with race cars that have been really fast and competitive and capable of winning. But then now we're starting to really hone in on all the other parts of what it takes to go win.
Now we go to Scott up front, then Lee.
Scott Walsh from the Scranton Times-Tribune. Aric, this question may be, excuse me, a little bit along the lines of what you were just talking about. Last week, it seemed like you were kind of bummed out with a third-place finish. Last year, you would have been thrilled with a third-place finish.
Yeah.
Has that just kind of shown how far you've progressed this year and how maybe your expectations have changed from from one year to the next?
Certainly. You have to. You as a race car driver and everybody in the garage is that way, but you have to be a realist and you have to kind of know what you have to work with, and how to go and optimize that. And so last year, absolutely, if we would have taken a car that wasn't capable of running, top 10, top 15, and somehow managed to finish top 5 with it, we would have been elated, and because that wasn't the norm. And this year, that's not the case. I mean, we have cars capable of winning, and when you have cars capable of winning and you don't win, you're bummed out. I mean, that's just the way it is. So I think that just comes from the competitive nature of me personally. I can't speak for everybody, but I think most race car drivers are that way. You know what your car is capable of, and only we know that. I mean, from the outside, you can watch the guy running 25th on Sunday and go, man, he's terrible. but you have no idea what that guy is challenged with in the race car and how hard he's trying. And oftentimes, I've talked to Johnny, my crew chief, about this, but oftentimes I can promise you that I work my guts out to finish 20th, way more than I've worked to lead 70 laps at Chicago. I mean, when your car's driving good and doing the things you want it to, everything just kind of slows down, is calmer, and your car drives good, and you're not right on the edge of out of control every single corner. When you're racing your butt off to try and stay on the lead lap, and your car's not driving good, and you're sliding all over the place, it's a lot of work. And so you go into the race weekend and what you're faced with, and the challenge ahead. And every weekend, my goal as a race car driver is to meet that challenge. And if I have a 10th place car, I want to run top 10 with it. And if I have a car capable of winning, I want to win with it. And I feel like we've had that opportunity a few times and just haven't broke through yet. And so that was why the disappointment was on my face Sunday.
You talked about the art of winning. Is there an art to closing as well, and what do you need to do to finish the deal?
Yeah, there is. You look at every form of major sports, and there are the people that want the ball in the last few seconds of the game, and there's the people that are going to pass the ball in the last few seconds of the game. And I've claimed going into this season that I want to be that guy that wants the ball, and so yes, there is an art to closing. We as a team have got to get better at that. It's not any one thing, it's not any one man, but I'm a big part of that, and so I have to do my part. And when you look at Loudon, you come down to a restart with 36 laps to go, and I've got the best car, I feel like, restarting third, pissed off that I didn't come out with the lead, but still got a really good opportunity in front of me to go challenge for the win. And I made a mistake. I anticipated the restart, and earlier in the race, Kyle went long in the restart zone, and this time he went right at it, and so caught me by surprise. I got in a hurry to try and go, and I spun my tires and made a mistake. But those mistakes like that, and even on pit road for us, those are just going to make us better as long as we learn from them. Those are opportunities to learn, and those are situations that, quite honestly, I haven't routinely been in. And like you say, you look at the guys that I was racing; those guys race for the lead almost every single weekend, and so they're accustomed to that. They're used to that, and they're put in situations like that all the time. That's a little bit foreign for me, and I think that's going to take time for me to just continue to learn and learn from those experiences. And if I continue to make those mistakes, I feel like that's when we'll have a problem. But for right now, I feel like that was just a learning experience, and we'll take that and put it in the memory bank and hopefully use that to capitalize on another weekend.
All right. Thanks, Aric.
Thanks, guys.